difficult to even come up here and speak about it because you don't want to throw any disrespect towards an individual like that. Like, holy mackerel, it's hard to watch. It's so emotionally driven. Okay? And here we have two beautiful children who they don't want to commit linguistically to saying what they think happened to Jack and Lily other than putting the blame back onto the kids. But there is absolutely no emotion attached to what it is that they want you to believe happened to the kids. It's like, well, something happened to the kids. It's not our fault. We're completely separated from it. It's all Malaya's fault. Hope you find them. No, you're acting like suspects. You're acting like suspects because you are suspects in all of this. And there's nothing you can do about that to change. No matter how many people that you fool. You haven't fooled the RCMP. They know exactly who's responsible, and it's just a matter of time before they're ready to present and proceed with what it is that they need to do. Hopefully that's a SWAT takedown. Hopefully they come in there. Hopefully they come in there and just fucking roll right over that camper. In a way to open it up. There's no kids on the premises. We'll put on the battering ram in the front of this huge ass steel man carrier. We'll just forget to put it in park. What are they going to do? How are they going to get past that RV in the driveway? How are they going to penetrate the almighty RV in that driveway on your screen right there? Oh yeah, this is where I live, Janie says. This is where I live. I'm out here and I'm on guard and I watch and I interact with the kids all day. You know how weird it is for the kids to go to their grandma's place or dad's place and have his mom being in the weirdo out at the Stalker out in the fucking RV? What a bizarre setup you guys have there. That's so very weird. And you're lying about it. I'm surprised that they told the truth to an extent. And Janie just saying that she's out there because she couldn't handle the kids or Malaya. It was a lot colder than that on May 2nd. The night before and the night after, it was down to 30 degrees. It was sub-freezing, 0 - 1 degree Celsius. Talking about the high of the day maybe being 44 degrees, if they're lucky in the sunshine. That wouldn't matter much because of how cold and dead you would be. Think about how quickly "15 minutes, hypothermia, starts to take hold." We're talking about miniature children here, or mini adults, little kids, 4 and 6. We're not even entertaining the fact that they voluntarily walked out that door with just their boots on. But that's what they did. That's what old Janie here is claiming that they did. With one, she must have been playing hopscotch on an Olympic level. What is the best case scenario in her mind, I wonder? Let me see. Oh, missed that. The fact that both Daniel and his mother came out and discouraged the neighbor and actually said he was trying to take the heat off of himself is an obvious clue. They knew he heard car. They need to discredit it. Right, exactly. Normally that would be a piece of evidence and that would be important to the greater investigation at that point in time, but because it spoke directly and the neighbor said it was Daniel and his car, all they did what they only knew to do, and that's to deny and lie. Janie hugging demon says that you're an ogre and you deserve a cave. You have to fight the bear for it, though. Poor babies having to get yelled at all the time by that voice. There's another thing that she brought up. Why would she naturally just think that because she heard Daniel yelling that she would be yelling at Jack again because he likes to get into things? Well, she would be assuming that because he probably did that all of the time. There's a little bit of leakage. I can't get enough of this Janie interview and these Janie statements because she's so bad. Why couldn't she just say what Daniel wanted her to say and shut up? Is she more involved with the incident that brought the fate of Jack and Lily than we like to think? Quite possibly. Maybe Daniel and Janie were going to teach the kids a lesson. They were going to, Malaya didn't want to do any of the parenting, so they were going to teach her a lesson. They were going to teach these kids a lesson that they're never going to forget. How dare these children interrupt our fence building session? Carol says, let's face it, what could the neighbor actually have been trying to take the heat off of himself for exactly? That he would lie about 2 missing children. Yeah, in the moment where he really doesn't know what the hell's going on other than the children, they're looking for kids. He doesn't know what the hell's going on. Whatever it is, I heard them, and I love that. That's a great thing that happened that Bradley did, and he probably didn't even mean to do it. But I'm glad how he's standing up for himself. Well, to him at this point, knowing how blatantly they're lying, being the one who knows the information that he gave police being true, he can see exactly how guilty these sons of bitches are. They've got a one-way ticket for meeting hell on earth here. Robin Edwards, JM, said Jack never had shoes, boots, or a coat on, so she would have had to call Malaya Brooks. Yep. Yeah, just more contradictions and inconsistencies we can classify these statements under. Carol, also originally, evidently, Malaya told Janie that it was one bare footprint bear, as they are not wearing shoes that they casted, and it was Jack. We know that's not true either. Well, the fact that she has all of these reasons, Amy, Are You Okay says, if she didn't think DM was shouting at the kids wasn't urgent, it's certainly a normal occurrence. Well, she's got an answer for everything, just like Daniel in all of this. Good to see you, Sweet Tea. Like, she has to get the CBC over and let the world know exactly why it was that she was crying that particular day. Think about how fucked up that is. How narcissistic that is of you. That's all in response to what you heard come from Belinda at that moment in time. But there's far more into just the need to have to share that with the world, exactly why she was crying. Whatever her reason is going to be a fucking lie and a manipulation. You shouldn't have to tell people why it is that you were emotional on the day that you reported 2 children missing. That should go without any explanation. It's nobody's business. But why is it that you need to have everybody know or think that it was because whatever happened to Jack and Lily, you could have prevented it? Well, technically that's true. You could have not been a complete fucking idiot. You could have not been a complete abusive, manipulative piece of shit who hated on Malaya and the kids at every step of the way. You could have been a different person, had a different attitude towards them. But the fact that she's so emotional that she wants to tie herself to whatever it is, the fate of Jack and Lily, that's really what she's saying. She's mad because she's associated with it.
There was a bench sitting here, or a sawhorse, it's over there, was sitting here. I was sitting on it, bawling my eyes out. I was crying because I blame myself for not getting up that morning to see the kids. Because if I would have got up, this wouldn't have never happened. Okay? That's why I was crying.
We've heard a lot about the patio.
Boy, that's clear as mud. Why isn't you can't communicate any sort of point throughout this entire interview? Anybody pick up on that? There's not a clear conversation from this woman. In fact, it's quite the obvious. Or the opposite, excuse me. Tom Liu saying, you're talking about Malaya being in the hospital? She must be trying to get access to say she wasn't in her right mind. I would say she's probably in that fucking hospital because the RCMP are asking her questions. She needs to get in there to get herself all busy and occupied. Know what I mean? It's a form of avoidance. But it's not going to work. It's a form of drawing things out just like she's doing right now. Malaya has it in her power to bring all of this to an end. All of it. And she refuses to. So, the cops are going to have to do this the hard way. And they're not going to go very nice on you in the court of law. What kind of fucking morons clinch on to thinking that the kids that were just in their home moments ago are somehow still magically alive out there somewhere? You're the assholes who called RCMP with the emergency. So when did that emergency begin and where did it end for these individuals? It's not our emergency. It's your emergency.
Apparently Lily was the only one that was sick. I think the reason why Jack didn't go to school is because I didn't think Jack. I don't think she wanted Jack to go to school by herself. That's my opinion. They missed school to Thursday, yes. They went to town Thursday around lunchtime. I have no idea where they went. I do not even know what they bought. I heard them out in the yard here Thursday afternoon. And when I heard them out, my dog started barking. My dog tells me when the kids are in the yard. Okay? I went out. When they heard them out in the yard, my dog started barking. I opened the door and let...
Actually, hold on there, Janie. Crazy old bat. Michelle in my chat brought up a point here. I think MBM drinking alcohol heavily. She's trying to forget. Her math has been cut off. Or other substances. Stop right there. Yeah. The fact that they're under heavy surveillance and the world is looking at them. Everybody in their immediate knows what's happened. They can't just walk around fucked up like they did before. So it's changed a little bit. And that's the worst part about quitting anything is when you first decide to drop it and you sober up just a slight bit, you start to remember and realize the reason why you started in the first place. And then the anxiety takes over. And then if you're weak like these guys are, you just go back to it. And especially all of your own chemical and how imbalanced that you really are in your dopamine levels, getting back to normal or shelf state might take some time. It might not even be possible, considering all the damage that they've done to themselves at this point. lifelong customers. Michelle says, I think MBM drinking alcohol heavily. She's trying to forget her math has been cut off. Reality is setting in. That's the key statement right there. Reality setting in. She can't run. She can't run away. And I see a lot of her issues were from being an untreated addict. Yeah. Yeah, she's going to have to get a hold of that probably right away. But look who she's hanging around. Like, she's got no real guidance in that set. She's developed a poor relationship with Cindy, but yet dependent. Still a young girl. She's just matured. 27, 28. Malaya was even so vague in her call to the RCMP. She said the children may have left the property. Yeah, may have left the property. Yeah, and they're known to wander. She's contradicted her own self. And that they have possible autism. Tells me that I'd love to talk to the CAS woman, because that was probably a real factor in the conversation or whatever the issues back in December were. Sarah says, I hear spite, resentment. Oh, yeah, you can. It just pours out of her. The whole topic is off-putting. Do you know why? Because her existence is in that goddamn RV, and the whole reason she's in this nasty RV that she has to lie to herself and everybody else that she's enjoying is because of Malaya, not because of Daniel. She's got her own reasons, right? So the way that she can't lie to people about the way that she talks about the situation, even in a generalized manner. She's a real piece of work. Darlene, I believe she went into self-destruct mode, meaning Malaya. I hope she's in treatment and getting the help she needs. She probably drank herself right into the hospital, because that's the only way that she knows how to deal with her problems, especially when she's all by herself and there's no children around at this point. There's all kinds of time to think. And she doesn't seem like a person who really wants to face reality at any point in time, especially at this point in time. Yeah, Carol. Yeah, Shannon, just like the RCMP indicated in all of their language and ridiculous, Friday's story, you could say, was implied. Their entire claims of the story are implied. There's nothing direct about this Friday scenario. They didn't even want to say that they interacted with the kids, none of them. So that would automatically mean that they really didn't interact or deal with the children since Thursday. At what time? They don't even want to, and when you ask them, they don't want to speak about it. There's a loose reference to how Malaya put them to bed, and then their time frames are so mismatched, and Daniel's is wide open. Meanwhile, they spent the entire afternoon and evening all within 20 feet of one another. Wherever Janie's standing right there isn't 15 feet away from the living room. You can hear everybody's conversation where they are right there. There's no hiding anything or anybody on this particular property. It's not like that's even remotely possible, especially for a busybody like old Janie. Old Whisper 2000 here. Yeah, Shannon, I'm with you. I'm with you in that line of thinking. I just, in that sense, want more evidence before I start speaking in depth about it. because I don't want to make that jump for people. I'd rather the evidence already be out there and then have a reason to talk about it. But you can talk about it up to the point, because considering how everybody in this particular little group of Janie, Darren, Daniel, and Kent act, especially from the public perspective, are identical to how Chomos act and behave for the exact same reasons. Well, I think old Kent has a whole collection of CP somewhere. Darren's a connoisseur of it. Yeah, that's in a generalized. I agree with you, Lori. In your opinion, if you sit and watch your children be abused, well, to be honest with you, that's going to be different for Malaya than it is for us. Malaya has grown up with a real gray area when it comes to abuse. The way that she describes it through what Wade says, she's putting up with a lot. She's putting herself through it like it's normal. Tells me that it's probably been normalized throughout her house, or throughout her life to a degree. It wasn't just her dog that Janie originally mentioned when telling Officer Mason they were not allowed in. She did not want them in her cupboard, which she now denies having. What the hell? Well, she's got a glass dick in there too. I would have to think that initial reaction has got to be drug related, because old Janie herself partakes. That's my suspicion at this point. And that's really based off of how irrational and erratic she is when she behaves. She's on the edge all the time. Listen to her.
My dog out. My dog is penned in. I do not let my dog around Jack and Lily. From what I hear through the grapevine, Jack and Lily have not been around animals. When they first came here, I tried to introduce my dog to Jack and Lily, and Lily started to scream because my dog was near her. Ever since that, I've kept my dog away from the kids, Jack and Lily. Thursday, when I opened up the door, Jack and Lily were right beside the playhouse looking for worms under a board. Jack said to me, "Look, Granny, I found a worm. I found a centipede." I said, "Good boy, you keep looking." That's when I went over in my front of my RV and started raking the gravel for the swimming pool. Because I was waiting for Daniel to find his tools so he could help me put the top board up on the fence so I could put the boards up, because I couldn't hold one end.
None of what she's saying right here makes any fucking sense. We go from a salamander to Daniel trying to find his tools to it having something to do with raking a pool that's not there yet, putting a top board on a fence that, honey, This isn't the fucking Great Pyramids of Giza, dear. The board's so light you could work with it yourself if you wanted to. And what are you doing working on a fence at that point in time anyway? Shouldn't you be getting ready for dinner? Who's feeding the kids, I wonder? Think about how she just, weaved this little tale together right there in that one sentence. Jesus. Holy mackerel. ADD much? She jumped around like she's tweaking herself. Thursday, the last interaction Janie had with old Jack. So she's telling us that she had an interaction with Jack before the disappearance. So nobody's really seen Jack since this salamander incident that somehow has to do with the pool and you raking and putting in a top board and Daniel waiting on Daniel with his tools. I think we got our weak spot, Sergeant. This is where you want to go in and start really fucking questioning them hard. Get him tripped up over this fucking in-depth story that they had with this fence. They always love to refer to this fence whenever they need in this sense. It's always being built. It's always being painted. The place looks like a fucking dump. Looks like fucking Tweaker, Geographic, a cover of. And you're wanting us to believe it's you out there making and beautifying and decorating your home. No, it's a bunch of tweakers tweaking is what it is. Tweakers love to tweak to wood. That's a thing. Okay? Tweakers and wood are a thing. Jamie's also saying that it was her and Daniel working together on God knows what at that point in time, where she associates it to her last sighting with Jack and the salamander.
And nail the other end. Anybody that knows that, anybody that does carpentry knows that that's impossible to do. To get that it balanced and hold one end up and the other end drop.
Fuck, you don't know anything about carpentry. Listen to old Red Green here. If anybody that knows carpentry knows that that's impossible to do. Not if you're good. Not if you grab the right level. So you can have the level on the wood. Just level it the right way. Can even prepare ahead of time by, using a pencil or a line, and then you can throw your nail in the nail gun, line it up, boom, and then go hold the other end up, boom. These are light wood, pieces of wood, Janie. So why is it you have the necessity to lie so hard on something that's so blatantly fucking obvious to the rest of the world? Why are you choosing to make yourself look like a complete ignoramus and a person who has just fabricating as opposed to actually doing it? So she's saying that if you don't believe me, you're stupid. You know nothing about anything if you dare question what it is that I'm claiming here. The hallmarks of a con artist. Carol says, Janie, we know the pool is absurd. The only way I think she may have considered it reasonable is misunderstanding the phrase carpool and therefore installing a pool in her driveway like a dingback. Listen, she has to nail down this ridiculous Swiss cheese-like alibi because it's what she told investigators. It helps her remember, too. It's her that needs to sew it in order for it to benefit her in the long run as a baseline for her defense. Because we all know if these people were your fucking babysitters and you came home with a date night with your wife or husband and the kids were missing and this is how your babysitters were acting, would you have a problem with it? Well, wasn't their fault. They don't know what happened. It's no different in my mind. They're acting incredibly suspicious. And it's not just the drugs. It's not just the tweak. They're all tweaking. And they're getting violent. That's why you assholes needed to go and call your entire families to come over and help search for a couple kids who you guys had already disposed of. It was your way of weaving the fabric of this disinformation on a bunch of people because Janie recommended it. She's the leader of this pack. It starts somewhere and it starts with Janie. Janie's the key piece of pressure because, again, it's not Daniel or Malaya's house. They had all kinds of financial fucking problems. Yeah, that's blatantly obvious. No more obvious to the person who owns the property, and this will Cruella DeVille here on your screen. Michelle, thank you for that super sticker, darling. $10. Wow! I appreciate that. Think about how she talked about the last time that she saw Jack. You think that she could go into real specific detail about that, and how that would maybe affect you. Nice salamander, asshole. Get away. I'm waiting for my son to build this fence. It's of the utmost importance. Can you fucking imagine living in that shithole and being worried about the fence? Talk about lying to yourselves. You're so concerned about this shitty looking fence, you would at least think that you might want to make it look good. Just because you threw that the last part of the stain on the fence doesn't make it look good. It looks like a shipping container around there. In fact, you should have went and got shipping pallets and put them up, as opposed to try to build them. Should have just looked online. You guys are the dumbest fucking bunch of peeps. Like, you really got to get a load of this fence. I'm fencing out a whole lot. Like, take a look at the space between the boards, number one. So it's certainly not for any privacy. It's just a little project. It's a tweaker's project. And he loves it. Isn't that right, Danny boy? Tom Lou, thank you, darling. What a great super sticker. Maybe Janie should have bought a pressure washer to clean the outside of her RV. Well, I get them around $150 at Canadian Tire. That's half an 8-ball.
After Daniel helped me, I continue putting the boards on the fence. But there was another fence on the other side that was there before that. So I was out there doing my fence. Jack and Lily were in the backyard playing. I came in the house to have some supper. I do not know when the kids went in the house. I don't know what time they went to bed. I don't know anything of that.
You know she's lying. She wants to distance herself from the scenario and the circumstances leading up to when they reported the kids lying. She'd rather have you believe her and think nothing more of it, like you're not going to still wonder what time it was. She wants you to know at that point in time that she's got no idea what time any of that happened, even though we're at this juncture of the investigation and case. You think by now that you would have had all of your times in your mind because of how you talked to Malaya, how you talked to Daniel. You might have asked questions after the fact. You might have gotten to learn a time, but no. She's so adamant about not knowing any of the times, and she's satisfied with that. Simply for the sake of trying to convince people of this absurd alibi. It's already bad enough. She doesn't need it to look any worse. Carol says Jeannie and Oliver misplaced pride about not wanting to be judged while living in a filthy dump that they made no attempt to improve until the kids were gone. Not for Jack and Lily. Filthy for them. Right. Morale around that place was at an all-time low. It has everything to do with the financial irresponsibility of Daniel because of his microdosing on daily with his math habit. And wouldn't you know? That's a commonality of the drug, but Daniel wants to walk around and just feel one of a kind and special, as opposed to just another slave to the drug. That's all you are, Daniel, and that's why you're predictable. And that's why it's easy to pick out your deception at all times. That supersedes everything. And the damage those drugs did to you.